And we're back. And if you're joining us right now, we're just getting our second conversation for the morning started. And we're having a conversation with the Belize Port Authority. We're talking a little bit about safe boating practices and tips to minimize some marine accidents, especially now that we know that the Easter holidays are almost here. And joining us in our studio for the conversation, we have Mr. Michael Jenkins, who is the operations manager at the Belize Port Authority.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us.
First of all, I must say thanks to the Lord Jesus Christ for having me here. Good morning to you. Good morning to Belize. Good morning to the marine community.
Tell us a little bit about what the Belize Port Authority actually does for our viewers.
We have many things under our mandate. First of all, we are definitely the safety regulation body. We make sure that the maritime domain is operated in a safe way. We are responsible for the ports, port security, that making sure that the ports operate under the international regulations. So our duties range from vessel security, port security, and also updating our navigational charts.
So you guys manage something like the water taxes?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay.
Yes. So on a daily basis, we do have officers out at the terminals, making sure that passenger safety is optimum, making sure that the vessels do not leave overloaded, making sure that the captains are well qualified, and that they are operating within the regulations of the Belize Port Authority.
Well, we understand that you are, right now, you are currently doing a public awareness campaign for safe boat practicing and so forth. Can you tell us a little bit about that campaign and why you're launching that?
Okay, well, you know, the Easter time is coming up. Most people, if they have not used their boats, they will be using it around this time. For us, there are 6 areas of concerns, or 6 areas that we want the maritime community to identify and to take a keen look at before they venture out to sea. First of all, you must look at your hull. Make sure that your hull is intact, is structurally sound. You have to look at your machinery. Is your machinery working properly? Do you have enough gas to go on your destination? You have to look at your equipment, your compass, your lights on your vessels. Do you have communication? So those are things that are important. Then you have to look at how you load your vessel. Is it properly loaded? Do you have sufficient manpower to man that vessel? Because if you only have one captain and no help, you might end up in problem. And then lastly, improper loading. We have to make sure that you balance your vessel correctly. So those are 6 key areas that if you look and you make sure that those things are in place, the reduction of any catastrophe or casualty happening at sea would be reduced significantly.
Do we have many accidents at sea?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think the maritime community takes sea life seriously. When you're out there, it's not like you're on the roads. You break down, you're floating. There's not much vessels that would pass and assist you.
Yeah.
So I think mariners are more cautious, more aware, and they take heed when it comes to making sure they have the proper equipment on their vessel.
And well, let's start. Well, or we can talk about how the Port Authority actually monitors these safety. So, for example, with things like actually the boat itself, or the equipment, or the hull, as you say, what are ways in which the authority actually goes and ensures that people are adhering to these safety standards?
Okay. The Port Authority does have an inspection team. We also have a group of a department that is called the Port State Control. That is a special group of officers that are qualified to go and inspect a vessel, look at your stringers, look how your vessel is built, and can tell you what is wrong and make that recommendation to the repairs needed on that vessel. So we do have a team in place that does domestic inspections on vessels, and we also have a team that does inspection on our cargo vessels, our international vessels, to make sure that these vessels are abiding by the international standards while coming into our territorial waters. We have a lot to protect. Not only the cargo is valuable, but we have our nature, we have the reef that we must protect, and substandard ships coming into our territorial waters is something that we try to deter and identify so that we can make that recommendation or expel them from our waters.
Let's talk a little bit about locals, because this is your safety campaign for the Easter and so forth. I am an inland person, so I don't own a boat. But for those that do own a boat, yes. How do they go about obtaining their vessel license and their seaworthiness certificate? And I was asking you, how do I obtain a captain's license? Yes.
Well, for your vessel, first of all, there's criteria for owning a vessel or registering a vessel into your name. You must be a Belizean. If you're a foreigner, you must have some ties to Belize. When it comes to the BTB program, you own land. So you must show proof of some ties to Belize for a foreigner to own a vessel. Once that is substantiated, once we clarify ownership of that vessel, then the Port Authority would inspect it, make sure that it's safe, make sure you have all your equipments on board, and then from there, that vessel will be registered and licensed into that person's name. Okay. For a captain license, you will need to present a police report. You also need to provide the Port Authority with a medical clearance, meaning you go to the doctor will clear you, your eyesight is good, you don't suffer from any kind of health or medical conditions. And then from there, there's a written exam. The written exam, you pass, and then you get apprentice certification, meaning that you can only go out to sea with a certified captain. And each time you go out, that captain would record and sign off that how many hours you were out. And for that would go for 3 months. After 3 months, you come back to the Port Authority with those signed off outings with that certified captain. And then from there, you proceed to your own practical with the Port Authority. Once you pass, then you're privileged to have a captain license.
So, okay, can you talk to us a little bit about the safety, like navigation, and how you're able to do that test? I just asked because, you know, I assume it's very different from a driver's test, and so how do you prepare to navigate waters? How do you understand the sea route? How do you know where to go? What are the lows? Where are the highs? I'm very interested in understanding that.
Well, one of our responsibilities at the Port Authority is to provide nautical information to the marine public. Our responsibilities is to put navigational markers in the water, and these mean something. It's hard to just explain it. You have to be a mariner, in other words, to understand the terminologies of the sea. So you have port side, you have starboard side, meaning left and right. We don't say left and right, we say port, starboard. And basically there's red and there's a green light. And those signify or identify a channel or the direction that you must go. My responsibility and as the operation manager is also to provide the updated surveys information for waters and provide the nautical charts that mariners use to plot their way from the beginning or from the start of their route to the end of their route. So basically, we have done a lot of LiDAR surveys, and presently we have just completed some satellite-derived bathymetry for the southern part of our waters, and that information will be developed into some new charts. So we are doing a lot of work at the Port Authority. We are also in support of Coastal Zone and other agencies in Belize by providing them with much needed information when it comes to bathymetric survey and the hydrology information from the sea column. So we provide a lot of information. We are not only, we could say, a shipping company, but also we do a lot of research when it comes to oceanographic work.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was actually going to be my next question, to talk about the collaboration which you have with other agencies. I imagine also with the Coast Guard as well, especially when it comes to the issues of safety and stuff. I imagine, work along with agencies like that as well to fulfill your mandate.
Yes. The maritime domain is in three sections. You have the coastal state, you have the flag state, and you have the port state. The flag state falls under Imarbe. Then you have the coastal state that both Port Authority and the Coast Guard shares, meaning we deal with search and rescue, incident investigation, things like that. Then you have the port state that is fully under the Port Authority that deals with standards of the international shipping. So those are three areas that the Port Authority finds itself in, and where we collaborate with the Coast Guard and Imarbe to make sure that we don't have any substandard ships coming to Belize, and also those ships that ply the rest of the world that is registered with Imarbe.
And actually, so that also, apart from the boats and the captains which are licensed here, you also monitor the ships internationals which come pass through our waters as well? Yeah.
Yes, we do have a system that allows us to see those vessels passing through or transiting through. So we have a lot of traffic from Barrios, Guatemala, going north to the United States. And also we have a lot of pleasure craft that plies from Mexico side to Honduras, Guatemala side. And one of the problems is that they might not be coming to Belize, but they would find themselves in problems in front of Belize and then have some kind of issue. So that is, so for the instance, the last grounding that we saw in San Pedro, that vessel was not coming to Belize any at all. It was passing, and the captain had his own issues, and he ran aground on our reef. But he had no intentions of coming to Belize. So that is one of our problems when it comes to all the vessels transiting in front of Belize City here.
Especially have to take care of a barrier reef.
Exactly.
Right. When it comes back to the campaign at hand, what are some, I guess, tips for those that do own a boat, or viewers that do own a boat, when it comes to preparing and preparations before you sail, before you take off, and tips of what to do when you are on the water?
Okay. First of all, when you must look at your weather. So you make plan. I always say a plan is nothing without planning. So you need to make your plans prior to departure, making sure that you have enough fuel for your your route you want to take, making sure that the weather is fine. You're not expecting any foul weather, inclement weather, and making sure that you communicate both with family members or interested parties, making them know aware when you're leaving, where you're going, estimated time of arrival to that destination. So if something happens or that time comes about and we don't see you, we can figure that, we might need to be a little bit proactive and see where you are. Yeah. So communication is very key, making sure that before you head out to sea, that you communicate with someone on land, making them aware where you're going and timings of your departure and arrivals.
Are there?
And also in terms of safety, what are some of the important things that 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 captains or people who are even going on boats need to know in terms of, let's say, equipping your boat with life jackets or other things which might be necessary for emergencies?
Definitely. Well, for sure, going out at the sea, you must have your life jacket. That's just key. You don't go out to sea without a life jacket. And again, some way of communicating at sea. If you have a VHF radio, or making sure that you have a cell phone, so that you can make some type of communication. And then there are flares, so that if you're stranded at sea, you can make some kind of signal to make people aware that you're in trouble. So those are the things that definitely you should be able to do while you're out at sea in case you find yourself in any situation.
How does the manpower and the resources stand at the BPA?
There's always room for improvement. But we have a great team. We have a dedicated team. And I believe that we are at a position where we are growing, and we are definitely able to carry out the mandate of the Port Authority. Right now, we are doing training, in-house training. As we get new employees, we are doing in-house training and making sure that we are ready for the task, and making sure that we here in Belize provide the efficient service for shipping, and provide the necessary information for safe navigation within our waters.
We had touched briefly earlier that the BPA is in charge of of certain companies like the water taxes and so forth that touch the waters in Belize. And I am an avid water taxi user. I have noticed that there has been an increase in the prices of water taxi passage. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, and why is there an increase? I know that there's a fuel problem happening, but the prices were increasing prior to that. So can you touch a little bit about prices of water taxi?
I think that overall the world economy has changed significantly. The price, most of our things in Belize are imported, and transportation on a whole has increased significantly. Boating industry, I can say that the cost of doing boating has gone up 75%, all right across the board. Parts, maintenance, higher help, everything has gone up significantly for the boating community. With that, I believe that there is some request for increase, and that is presently with the Ports Commissioner. And so I will leave it as that. I am not privy to that information when it comes to the price hike and how the Port Authority will be dealing with that.
All right, fair enough. Can we get back to the campaign then?
Yes.
So, are there any? Is there any advice for viewers about the safeties for this Easter?
Yes, ma'am. My first thing is to be proactive. If you see something that is not confirming to what you believe is the Port Authority regulation, each terminal, each vessel should have the contact information, the phone numbers for the Port Authority, for the police, and for the water taxi operators. Make that call. Tell us what is happening, so that we can be there to deal with that situation. We are still in a health issue, health crisis. I would suggest and recommend that passengers to still abide by the health protocols that are in place. There's no need to be in a rush, and just stick to those health protocols, keep your distance, hand sanitize, and if you see anything out of the ordinary when it comes to the operating of these water taxis, to use the contact numbers that are available and make that call.
And as we see in Easter, we're expecting increase in boat traffic and increase in people using water taxis and stuff. What are some of the ways that the authority will sort of monitor the safety to ensure that standards are being met? Because we've had issues with overcrowding and overloading vessels and stuff like that.
Well, definitely we have extra officers on the ground. We'll be at all the major destinations, Kikaka, San Pedro, and definitely in Belize City, where most people are catching the boat to go out to the Keys. And so we'll have officers at these locations making sure that the boats aren't going over capacity, making sure that there are enough life jackets on board, making sure that the vessels have the equipment on board, and we're having our own patrols within the area. So we will have our presence to make sure that the weekend runs smoothly.
I would imagine that there are a lot of viewers out there, I guess myself and Gavin included, that we don't really know what to look for when it comes to certain violations for the BPA. So what would be an example of a violation that somebody would be doing something whereby we would have to call the BPA?
Well, definitely around this time we have a lot of intoxicated people. Even the captains, we have to, and the crew, the deckhands. So it's important to be aware of your surroundings. So if you see the captain or the deckhand somewhat intoxicated, you have passengers on board that is acting vigilantly or disorderly, things like that is not conforming to what should happen on a vessel. That is definitely leading to something catastrophic to happen. So definitely when it comes to the captain, if you see the captain acting recklessly, that is something to report to the Port Authority or the Coast Guard.
Any final words for our viewers, because we're quickly running out of time?
To the Belizean public and the maritime community, I'd just like to say, keep up the good work when it comes to making sure your vessels are in order. Make sure that you have your equipment and your communication working. And the Belize Port Authority is always on call. We have a team 24/7 on duty. So you can always make communication with the Port Authority for any assistance when it comes to Mayday calls, SOS calls.
What is that number?
It's a 966 number, and you can call it, or you can call 222-5666.
We want to thank you so much for coming in and talking to us a little bit more. I really want to talk more about how to get my captain's license.
Sure.
So I'll come to the BPA and ask more questions.
Yes,
but we have to take another break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about taxes. And have you filed your taxes? I hope so, because March done gone. So stick around, and we'll be back with that conversation after the break.